Right on, people, so I'm out today trying out my AlpineStars Tech Air 5 airbag jacket with a Marrakesh, Klim Marrakesh breathable jacket on top of that as a combination to see how I feel it is to wear in everyday use. And the temperature is kind of mid-70s at the moment, and I'm interested to see what it's like on a comfort level, a weight level, and heat and airflow level. But first, let me cut to tell you a little bit about these two jackets, and then we'll come back to give you an understanding of what it feels like when wearing them on the bike and why I chose to buy them.
The AlpineStars Tech Air 5 airbag jacket is designed for road riding and is also suitable for track day use. It is a slim and self-contained wearable vest that can be worn under any motorcycle jacket with sufficient air gap. It features 3 gyroscopes and 3 accelerometers with built-in AI monitoring based on a complex crash algorithm. AlpineStars claims a 93% impact reduction compared with a CE certified passive spine protector, and that is the equivalent of 18 level 1 back protectors. It also has class-leading coverage, including uniquely covering the rider's shoulders, chest, ribs, and full back. The system monitoring is handled by a dedicated phone app and Bluetooth connectivity to the Tech Air 5. The rider is able to choose dedicated street or track modes, which alters the invoking algorithm accordingly. As well as basic battery and system status information, metrics analysis of each ride is also provided. The Klim Marrakesh jacket is now in its 2nd generation. It's designed with extreme comfort and with a wide temperature use in mind. It's very breathable and has excellent abrasion protection. It's made of 1000D carbonite, which is a micromesh cordura. It is fully porous for airflow. DWR treatment means it's shower-proof but not waterproof. It has sturdy YKK zippers. It has level 1 D30 Ghost armor in the shoulders, elbows and back, and it is CE AA rated for protection. There are vents at the wrist, but the whole jacket is designed to flow air. Klim claims airflow even at low speeds. There's a forearm emergency ID stash pocket, an internal and external chest pocket, and 2 hand pockets. The mesh liner is moisture wicking antimicrobial. It's fitted with a comfort collar, and the whole jacket has a 4-way stretch.
Okay, let's go through why I chose to buy them in the first place. Recently, one of the crew members, Scott, had an accident. He was in the mountains, totally not his fault, and nothing he could do about it. He's going around a bend, an uphill left-hander. There's a bike coming down in a downhill right-hander that couldn't make the bend, and the guy low-sided straight into Scott. Scott went over the bars, made a real mess of his GSA. Basically, that's a write-off. That's done. And more importantly, he got hurt. He broke both his wrists, and he actually chipped a couple of small bones in his lower back, the kind of L1 to L3 area, the kind of winglets, if you like, off the spine. Fortunately, no spinal damage, and he is recuperating and in good spirits as we speak. But it was a kind of reminder to myself and the rest of the crew about how vulnerable we are when we ride and what we can do to protect ourselves. And perhaps one reason why Scott is not paraplegic is because he was wearing an airbag vest. So just because you're wearing an airbag vest doesn't mean you cannot get injured or receive a spine injury, as Scott clearly demonstrates. But without that, I hate to think what the situation, you know, would have been. So it's made us all think as a riding collective about our personal protection, and I would say at least half a dozen of us have either ordered or bought airbag vests as a kind of upgrade to our spine protectors. So back in the day when we were teens, we didn't used to wear anything because we were immortal, right? And then they invented body armour, and Dainese came out with some of the best hard armour spine protectors, some of which probably transferred a fair bit of forces because they were very hard and not particularly soft. But they got better and improved, and different manufacturers offered variations, and good companies like AlpineStars and, you know, Knox and everybody came out. And these days, of course, we typically wear Gore-Tex clothing for comfort and rain protection, and we use D30 armour for lightness and flexibility and strength in dissipating forces. However, an airbag vest is significantly better, or at least the claims are significantly better, and we have to assume there's some truth in that, since every rider in MotoGP has to wear an airbag, and typically wear Dainese and AlpineStars. So what extra protection do you get? Well, in addition to spine protection, you also get, you know, your rib cage and thorax in general protection, and with the AlpineStars a little bit more in terms of the shoulders protection. And Dainese, for instance, with their smart jacket, typically claim the spine is protected to about the equivalent of 7 or 8 traditional spine protectors, so significantly better. AlpineStars claims something around twice that, so even better again. So the 3 key airbags on the market really are the Dainese, the Klim, and the AlpineStars. In terms of autonomous, what I mean by autonomous is you just put it on and forget about it. The jacket will look after itself. There are, of course, tethered systems as well, which are a little bit cheaper to buy, which include a line from the jacket to the typically handlebars, and when you go over it, the cord pulls tight, it pulls the gas canister release, and that will inflate. And they're usually at a very good price point, and they're usually easy to repack and quite good value for money. So if you just want a better mousetrap airbag, if you like, back protector, if you like, at the cheapest price, that's probably your route. If you want something a little bit more upmarket, a little bit more protective, a little bit more you know, autonomous in terms of looking after itself, you'll probably want the Klim, the Dainese, or the AlpineStar. Each have pros and cons, and let me quickly think what they are. So the Klim is, I think, quite a good looking vest, and is a very good price point, about $450 I think off the top of my head. And it is a traditional kind of over the shoulder vest, and when it you know, is if it goes off, you will need to send it back and have it repacked, and there's costs for that. And that's true of the Dainese and the AlpineStars as well. But I think it's fair to say that if you've come off your bike and your bike's a mess and you're not, you don't care whether you need to replace the entire jacket, never mind just have it repacked. And to hell with the costs, right? If you're feeling, you know, a lot better as a result of not being injured and lying in hospital, then, you know, that's a good thing, right? So that's the Klim, readily available in North America particularly, and it seems to be a true fit. So if you're 2XL, 2XL will fit you. The Dainese is about $750, I believe, and that's kind of an Italian or Euro fit, so I would say that in terms of if you're 2XL, you might even need a 3XL, because American sizes tend to be that little bit larger and European sizes that little bit tighter. Dainese have a very good reputation, and their jacket works autonomously, and it is what Scott was wearing in the accident, so it saved his spine basically. So hats off to Dainese. So I went and looked at Dainese, having, you know, Scott had a relatively good experience with it. But there's a problem, in my personal opinion, and that is that Dainese have chosen to put the brains of the unit, the gas canisters, and the ECU, if you like, at the base of the spine, kind of between the L1 to L3 area. And I think that's the worst area to put it. Now I speak from experience when I say I've had a bad high side, been over the bars when the back wheel's given out and then gripped and flipped me in the air like a frisbee, and I've been over the top of the hood of the car. And what typically happens is you are slam dunk hard and fast down on the base of your spine. Now, fortunately for me, in both instances I had full-length spine protectors, and I've never not worn a full-length spine protector on every ride for at least 30 years. And that's food for thought, because it can kind of happen to any of us. Scott is a really, really excellent rider, but he couldn't avoid that type of accident, and none of us could. None of us could credibly. And Scott is an ambassador for various riding organisations, so you know, I'd trust him as a pillion ride all day long if he was the rider. So nothing to do with him, anybody could get injured. And it just so happens that his L1 to L3 had little bone chips off the kind of winglets of his spine, and that just happens to be where Dainese put all the hardware, and I think it's transferring forces. Now clearly it's saving those forces to a large extent, otherwise, you know, he could have broken his spinal column. But I still don't like the idea of it being there, because I know that's where you typically, certainly from personal experiences, where you typically slam down hard. And so that was a deal breaker for me, and we decided not to buy it. So I looked at the AlpineStars, which is the one probably used most prevalently in MotoGP, and AlpineStars obviously have a big MotoGP presence, as do Dainese. Climb not so much, they're obviously off-road orientated, but in terms of the AlpineStars, there was things I really, really liked about it. Firstly, the control unit in ECU is much higher up. It's kind of between the shoulder blades, or a little bit higher, which means that it may potentially never make contact with the ground if your kind of helmet and lower back slam down first. Secondly, it has its own built-in spine protector, a little exoskeleton above that, and it's full length down your back. So for those that are worried that your airbag isn't going to trigger, or that it's going to run out of battery life, then and you'll not notice, you will still be wearing a full length spine protector. Now, in terms of battery life, it's actually got about 30 hours with the AlpineStar, which was another clear pro. And another pro was that the jacket extends over the shoulder area, so you don't have to wear shoulder armour with this airbag. It's going to inflate over your shoulders, and that has other benefits, because typically you break your clavicle, your collarbone, when your side of your shoulder impacts hard into the ground. It will just snap your collarbone, which is always very painful. Always needs titanium inserts, and is never quite right again. So that's one thing that really impressed me, that and a major USP, a unique selling point over the others, is that your shoulders are protected as well. Additionally, I don't know the exact weights, you'll probably get them from the websites, but In my hand it felt lighter than the Klim and the MkII, despite having a bigger protective surface area, and it also felt very comfortable on, and I like the way that you don't have to physically turn it on. When you put the zip together, which is magnetic, which makes it very nice to snap together and zip up, it will just automatically turn itself on, and when you unzip it, it will automatically turn itself off, so no chance of accidentally deploying it when you're off the bike, as long as you undo the jacket. So I love all of that. So what's not to like? Well, for many people it will be the price. The price is around about $800, which is, I suppose, to be fair, ballpark with the MkII. It's hardly anything more expensive. Certainly wouldn't be the deciding factor between those two in terms of purchase. But a lot of people say, well, it's a lot of money. What I'd say to them is what Bell helmets, American manufacturer Bell helmets, used to say in the kind of late 70s, early 80s. They used to say, you know, they got a lot of criticism because at the time their helmets were quite expensive compared with other brands, but they felt the quality was there to justify it. So they put out an advertising slogan that said, if you have a $10 head, wear a $10 helmet. Fair enough, right? I mean, you know, it's not my money, it's not my head, it's not my spine, it's yours. So, you know, if you value the inside of your skull, if you value having a spinal cord, if you value your clavicle bones and your rib cage and your core thorax key components such as your heart and your lungs and all the rest of it, it makes you wonder whether $800 isn't just a little bit cheap for the peace of mind and security that it can add. Now, as mentioned, you could get seriously injured even wearing an airbag. We see that all the time in MotoGP, right? High speed accidents, big impacts with other vehicles. There's a fair chance you're going to get hurt. You're not in my £7,000 Rivian truck, right? You're out in the elements and anybody could hit you at any time. But I think the key is mitigating the risk, and for $800 for a jacket that should last quite a few years, it is fairly cheap insurance. I mean, put it this way, if you say you keep it 8 years and then upgrade, it's cost you $100 a year. That's pretty good, I think. That's pretty good. I mean, it's not like you're not going to wear a, you know, $400 or $500 jacket with body armor anyway, right? You just would. You're not going to go out in a t-shirt, and if you do, you're a freaking idiot. You've clearly never fallen off a bike and have no idea how much it hurts. As someone who's tasted hospital food, had bones sticking out their body, had bones rebroken because they're not setting right, and multiple operations, I can tell you, an airbag makes sense to me, and the price isn't really remotely a consideration for me personally. What matters to me is the best protection, and at present I feel that is the AlpineStars jacket, and the Tech Air 5 is their latest iteration of that, and it's a true fit, but it's a tight fit. So if you say you're a 2XL and you order a 2XL, don't expect it to fit like a 2XL t-shirt. It will be that little bit tighter, but you want it tighter, right? You don't want it moving around. You want it exactly where it needs to be. In terms of wearing a jacket over it, you also need to think about that as well, in terms of you've got to allow enough space for the airbag to deploy. So think of it like this: you need about the space of a golf ball all around you, between your airbag vest and your outer jacket, to enable it to fully expand to the maximum protection. and so think about that as well. And I've gone the Klim Marrakesh route. Now, why have I gone with that route? Well, it's not a waterproof jacket for a start, which is normally my go-to. It is more of a very lightweight jacket, probably the lightest armoured jacket available from Klim, and it's made of a very stretchy material, which is good for the airbag expansion, obviously. And the whole jacket is very breathable in itself. It has very, very lightweight armour, so I can wear it as I am today with the armour in, or I can remove the armour to give a little bit more room for the airbag. But it's a kind of backup, if you like. The armour is proper D30, but it is ghost armour, which is kind of next gen, super thin, super lightweight armour. Now, normally I have to say I'm not sure I would trust that, versus the thickness of a level 2 D30 protector in my Knox jacket, for instance. I don't feel comfortable with the ghost armour just as a regular jacket. If I rode around within the speed limits everywhere, sure, but that isn't really me, and I dare say it's not most of you out there, right? You're probably pushing the boundary a little bit when the time and conditions are right. And so, yeah, as just a standalone jacket, I don't know whether I trust the armour, but I certainly, in terms of the jacket itself, it is pretty much the most comfortable motorcycle jacket you'll ever wear, basically. And in terms of sizing, if you're a 2XL, it's actually going to come up really big. It's going to come up more feeling like a 3XL. So it's almost like the opposite of the AlpineStars Dainese. The Klim jacket's going to be kind of like upper size, really. Now, you might want that. So typically I'm a 2XL, so I have a 2XL AlpineStars Tech Air 5, which is a tight fit, and I have a 2XL Klim Marrakesh, which is a very loose fit, and I very nearly didn't buy it, to be honest, because I tried the XL on and that felt fine, but I was worried that you know, if it was just another layer jacket, it would be fine, but I was worried that there just wouldn't be quite enough expansion space available, you know, with that XL. So I got my regular size the 2XL, but it feels more like a 3XL. Having said that, it feels comfortable on the bike. I was definitely worried when I put it on this morning, it looked like a sack, and I was thinking, oh my god, this is, you idiot. And I can't really take it back because I've thrown away all the packaging and stuff if I wanted to, but I decided to buy the 2XL, and the jacket itself I think is about $435, and I think it's probably the right decision. I mean, I'll probably look a little bit big off the bike, but it's got nice long sleeves which are nice, so I haven't got any air gaps, and it feels very, very comfortable over this jacket, and it's definitely flowing a surprisingly nice amount of air. It's kind of weird. I wouldn't say it's quite like the like an airflow jacket, but it kind of is. So it kind of basically flows as much air. I've got a number of airflow jackets from Klim and Knox and so forth, and it flows as much air as those things, but it seems to be in a smoother way. I can't explain it. Maybe it's just because the whole thing breathes rather than it having holes in it, but in a nice kind of way. It's kind of nicer, because sometimes with the cool air going through your jacket, it can make your torso, you know, pretty chilly, and with the airbag vest underneath it, it just takes that edge off. I'm not feeling hot, I'm just feeling very comfortable at the moment, and I think well, I've got nothing to complain about basically, because this is exactly what I was aiming for, and it's a $1,200 combined gamble to see whether this is going to be a winning combination or not. My theory was, yeah, you need the airbag jacket. The Tech Air 5 is the best mousetrap at the moment, but you don't want to get too hot in it, particularly in Georgia. You want something you can wear on top that is really good abrasion resistance in a slide, because the airbag won't be, right? That's not the job of the airbag. And you want something that will not make you too hot. And if it does happen to rain, or you know it's going to rain, I've always got a very thin Gore-Tex Knox jacket that I can put on top of it, which is you know, pretty much perfect basically. So yeah, there's I think as a combination, I think based on initial impressions, it's going to work. I can say the jacket is extremely comfortable. If I wasn't talking about it, I wouldn't even think about the AlpineStars. It's just feels very comfortable to wear. It doesn't feel like there's any weight there whatsoever, and combined with the lack of weight in this Marrakesh jacket on top, which I actually have the ghost armour in at the moment, and because it's particularly big, I can probably get away with not having to remove the armour in that, which was even more protection should the worst happen. And yeah, it seems to be pretty good. Another thing I do like about the AlpineStar jacket is it can recognise when you're on the bike. You can actually feel the vibrations of the bike, and it knows if you are hit from behind. So if you're at the lights and somebody hits you from behind, it will deploy. It's also got a great app which tells you not only the things you would expect, like how much juice you've got left in your battery and that kind of things, what software version you're on and yada yada, but it's also some telemetry in that. It will tell you, give you feedback on your ride, you know, what speed you were doing, duration and all that kind of good stuff. And in addition, if you have, I'm not sure whether it's in the app or they send it to you when you have your jacket repacked, if it is deployed, but there's also metrics showing exactly what happened during the deployment. So if you have an accident and you're interested in how well it performed, you can see the metric data, you know, like a line graph, like a heart graph if you like, or a graph of the heartbeat. You can see when that airbag, when the accident occurred, how many milliseconds it took for the airbag to deploy, and the duration of how long it was deflated, and yada yada yada, which is another key selling point I think of the AlpineStars, is in how fast they can deploy. It's much faster than its peers, it seems, around about 25 milliseconds they say. However, it will be a bit slower the larger the airbag, just because obviously it's a larger surface area to inflate, and essentially the gas canisters, of which there are two in the AlpineStar jacket, you know, they are basically the same mass, but the bag itself will be different depending on your physical body size. So my friend Elaine, who does a lot of track days, she's a petite lady with an XS, extra small size Dainese Tech Air 5, and hopefully she'll never have to deploy it, but if it's ever deployed, it will deploy much faster than mine, I'd imagine. So yeah, that's another key point. But the key point is, you know, 25 milliseconds is like, I don't know, 100 times faster than the blink of an eye. It's a bit like the old ABS days, right? When, you know, ABS came out on the BMW K100 back in the day in '83, I think it was. You know, the ABS modulated the brakes on and off, you know, up to about 6 times a second. Wow, mind blowing. And it really was mind blowing at the time. You know, you could, you could see how good it was. But of course now it does it hundreds of times a second. Well, the airbag's no different in terms of its deployment, etc. God, I hate this road. Why did I get in this road? It's like bumpy as anything. Still, it's a good test for the airbag, right? It's not going off just because you hit a few potholes. So, yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of initial impressions of the AlpineStars Tech F5 airbag vest and the Klim Marrakesh jacket to go on top of it. If you want a really good, if you're particularly interested in the Klim Marrakesh and you want a really good view of that, have a look at Moto Legends, Chris, the chap in the cap. Have a look at his review. I think if you search for Moto Legends Klim, or Klim as he calls it, Marrakesh, the best jacket in the world, I think is what his video is called. There's a very long, detailed, about half an hour detailed breakdown of why he loves the Marrakesh so much. Two of the crew, Ted and Doug, also have Marrakesh jackets. They seem very happy with them as well. So, you know, for what it's worth, I think it's a reasonable recommendation for both of these products. And if anything changes with regards to, you know, becoming a part of the seams, or God forbid my jacket actually having to be deployed, obviously I'm gonna let you know what those situations are and give you further feedback at a later date. But at the moment, I hope if you're considering an airbag vest that A, you'll buy one. Anyone, just please go and buy one. And two, this has been useful for you in terms of understanding a little bit of the comparison between the leading brands in North America at least. And if you're interested in the Marrakesh jacket, initial impressions are really good. I really like it. It keeps you cool without being chilling, and I think it's definitely the most comfortable thing you can wear, basically. So again, buy with confidence for both of those products, and keep it sunny side up, ride often, ride carefully, ride on.
Hey you, if you want to become one of the Ride On people, don't forget to subscribe. Ride often, ride carefully, ride on.